Chapter 182. A Battle Wushuang. In the demon locking tower, everyone existed in a space alone for the final test. In this way, the scene of a crowd of young geniuses fighting each other was naturally avoided. After all, the Heavenly Tao sect's disciple acceptance ceremony was for the purpose of recruiting disciples. And the first 100 young jungles who were able to enter the demon locking tower were all outstandingly talented disciples, so they naturally wouldn't let one of these people die. It could be said that although the test of the demon locking tower was very difficult, it was the safest place in the Heavenly Tao demon sealing list, where not a single young jungler would die. Old Me agrees, the test of the demon locking tower can be conducted at any time. It's better to wait for these two youngsters to compete before opening it. Another sealed elder said in a loud voice. As his words fell, quite a few seal elders spoke out in agreement. Because of Kang Chon's hegemonic blood, quite a few seal elders had been paying attention to Kang Chon during this period of time. So they were very clear about Kang Chon's current strength, and were all looking forward to the battle between Kang Chon and Wushuang. Law Enforcement Elder, what do you think? When the Guardian Elder heard this, a pair of deep eyes underneath his snow-white eyebrows suddenly looked at the Law Enforcement Elder. Although the Guardian Elder was one of the 4 strongest sealed elders of the Heaven's Path sect, and the presiding officer of this Heaven's Path sect's apostle acceptance ceremony, it was impossible for him to object to the proposal of the group of elders who, after all, weren't much worse than him in terms of status in the Heaven's Path sect. Of course, if the Law Enforcement Elder objected, with the majesty of the 2 stronger sealed elders, the crowd of sealed elders would not dare to say anything more. Therefore, the Guardian Elder asked the Law Enforcement Elder. The other sealed elders in the Great Hall also looked towards the Law Enforcement Elder. They all knew that promising Kang Chon hegemony blood was already the Law Enforcement Elder's inner disciple. In the entire Heavenly Tao sect, even the Patriarch had no way to snatch a disciple from the Law Enforcement Elder's hands. Not to mention, the Patriarch had his eyes on that genius, Dao Yi. As the gazes of the crowd of sealed elders converged, the Law Enforcement Elder slowly opened those golden eyes. And instantly, 2 streaks of golden lightning flashed by, revealing a terrifying pressure. Feeling this pressure, all the sealed elders trembled. Rumor has it that the Law Enforcement Elder's cultivation of the 9 revolutions Zhuanggong is nearing its grand completion, and that the strength of his fleshly body is close to that of an immortal. And it is indeed correct. The hearts of the crowd of sealed elders were shaken. Wait until there are 100 people before opening it, the Law Enforcement Elder said indifferently, and then closed his eyes once again. And the surrounding crowd of sealed elders immediately felt the pressure disappear and breathed a sigh of relief. Although the difference in strength between the Guardian Elder and the Law Enforcement Elder wasn't that big, compared to the Law Enforcement Elder, the Guardian Elder appeared to be a bit more approachable, so the other sealed elders usually didn't feel any pressure. But the Law Enforcement Elder was different. The Law Enforcement Elder was very withdrawn, perhaps because of his duties. In the Heavenly Tao sect, other than the Patriarch and the other 3 stronger sealed elders, very few people were able to maintain their composure in front of the Enforcement Elder. All right, it's decided. Do you all have any more comments? The Guardian Elder smiled at his words and looked towards the other sealed elders. There was silence in the hall. The Law Enforcement Elder's proposal was right up their alley, so naturally no one objected. Wow! The black demon locking tower towered into the clouds, and around the demon locking tower, hot magma surrounded it. And on top of this magma, there was a huge stone of different sizes and shapes floating. At this moment, more than 50 young talents were casually sitting on top of the surrounding boulders, waiting for the demon locking tower to open. Occasionally, there were some people whispering, and the matter being talked about was nothing more than the battle between Wushuang and Kang Chon. Is this Zhao Wuji lying to us? It's been such a long time. Even in the dance stage space, there are quite a few people who have come here. That Kang Chon, if he really has strength comparable to Zhao Wuji, how come he hasn't come until now? A strong person on the subterranean dragon ranking said in doubt. It can't be. With Zhao Wuji's identity, there shouldn't be a need to deceive us, and it wouldn't benefit him. Someone shook his head. That can't be said. This Kang Chon and Zhao Wuji come from the same kingdom. It's hard to guarantee that they aren't friends, and it's possible that Zhao Wuji gave Kang Chon a boost beforehand. Someone said this. I think that Kang Chon is delayed by something. We must know that even with Yanyan's strength, he would be fully able to come here by now. Not to mention that Kang Chon decapitated Yanyan, and with his strength, it's impossible that he hasn't come by now if he wasn't delayed by something. No matter what. Unless that Kang Chon is afraid, he will inevitably arrive by the time the demon locking tower opens. Let's wait patiently. Some of the young jungles closed their eyes and began to adjust their state for the upcoming demon locking tower test. Every one of the 50 or so young jungles who were able to come here so quickly had a cultivation level of the 9th level of the Jidan stage, and at their level, it was already difficult to raise their cultivation level in a short period of time. So the only way to do so was to adjust their state. And when the time came, 120% of them would explode with their power, including Daoyi, Wushuang, Easy, Zhao Wuji and the others were also secretly adjusting their state. Suddenly, Daoyi, who had been gazing with his eyes closed, opened his eyes as his gaze looked into the distance, a hint of surprise flashing through his indifferent eyes. A moment later, Zhao Wuji's eyes snapped open, and his radiant gaze brushed the distance. He slowly stood up, and a powerful battle intent erupted from him, sweeping through the entire space. This instantly startled everyone. Both Wushuang and Easy also opened their eyes, and the two of them looked suspiciously into the distance, their expressions filled with gravity. The crowd followed their line of sight, only to see a purple figure slowly appear in the midst of the tumbling hot magma in the distance. And it was only when they got closer that they could clearly see the appearance of the visitor. This was a young man wearing a purple robe, his shoulder-length hair fluttering in the wind, appearing ethereal and extraordinary. And above that handsome face, a stalwart aura was revealed. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly, revealing a faint smile. Who is this person? The crowd questioned in their hearts, but some of the strongest people on the subterranean dragon ranking had already revealed a look of gravity as they sensed the powerful aura that unintentionally emanated from this violet, clothed young man, an aura that wasn't at all inferior to that of Zhao Wuji, Wushuang and the others. Kang Chon, Zhao Wuji shouted, an excited light appearing in his eyes as his entire person erupted with a powerful battle intent. With Zhao Wuji's loud shout, the surroundings fell silent as everyone looked in shock at the purple-clothed youth who slowly walked towards them. Kang Chon. It was actually Kang Chon. Everyone was shocked. Wushuang's eyes even erupted with a brilliant light, his icy cold eyes staring at the slowly walking purple-clothed youth as a powerful intent shot up to the sky. Not far away, the slowly walking purple-clothed youth raised his head and looked at this side from afar as a purple lightning bolt flashed in his eyes. This person was none other than Kang Chon. He had finally arrived at the demon lock tower. The hot magma stirred up dazzling sparks. The tumbling magma flowed from afar, and Kang Chon's feet were standing on top of a fiery serpent, as if he were a dragonfly pointing at the water, stepping in an ethereal manner. There was silence in front of the demon locking tower. Everyone's eyes were filled with curiosity and surprise. Many of them were seeing Kang Chon for the first time. After all, the previous Kang Chon was not famous. Is this the kid who's going to challenge Wushuang? Can't see what kind of powerful strength he has. Hehe, a real person doesn't show his face. Who knows how strong he is without making a move? Didn't you see that even Daoyi was surprised? Indeed very strong, But he's not Wushuang's opponent. I'm afraid he's going to die here this time. After all, Wushuang's men never leave anyone alive. If Zhao Wuji intervenes, it won't be that easy for Wushuang to behead Kangqian. After the silence, a murmur rang out from the crowd. Most of the young jungles were still favorable to Wushuang. After all, Wushuang had become famous too early, and had already formed a strong influence in the hearts of the crowd. Even Zhao Wuji couldn't compare, let alone Kangqian, a fledgling brat. Of course, some of the strongest people could see how powerful Kangqian was, and were hesitant in their hearts, making it difficult to guess who would win and who would lose. Kangqian, I knew you wouldn't let me down. Zhao Wuji's gaze was filled with astounding battle intent. He was like a golden god of war, exuding an incomparably powerful aura. Kangqian, who had come riding on the fire snake, couldn't help but look towards Zhao Wuji. A purple light flashed through his dark eyes, and then a powerful battle intent erupted from within him. Zhao Wuji. A brilliant light shot out from Kangqian's eyes, and his powerful battle intent rose up to the sky, breaking through the heavens. He hadn't forgotten that he still had a battle contract with this god of war that hadn't been completed. Back then, during the battle at the Fendu fighting stadium, Zhao Wuji and Kangqian had agreed that the two would fight it out in the Heavenly Daosex disciple acceptance ceremony. Drink. Feeling Kangqian's powerful battle intent, the light in Zhao Wuji's eyes grew even brighter, and with just one look, the two had already understood each other's minds. Kangqian's figure rose up into the sky, heading in the direction of the demon locking tower ********. Zhao Wuji's entire body was shrouded in golden light, emitting a terrifying aura, as he stared closely at Kangqian's approaching figure, and the battle intent on his body grew stronger. However, at this time, a terrifying intent rolled upwards against the wind, resembling a scorching hot fire dragon that coalesced and took shape in the sky, swooping towards the rushing Kangqian. Everyone was shocked. This was an attack formed by the coalescence of 50% of intent. There were only a handful of people present who had reached 50% of intent, and the person who had struck was none other than the second strongest person on the subterranean dragon ranking, Wushuang. Zhao Wuji, this is my fight, don't interfere. Wushuang's entire body rose up in the air, as if he was an emperor-like body, exuding a majestic aura. His eyes stared indifferently at Kangqian, who was running in the distance, and he coldly said to Zhao Wuji. The crowd in the distance immediately vacated the space one by one, fearing that they would be involved in the battle later. They stayed aside to watch the fun. Zhao Wuji stared coldly at Wushuang, his golden eyes flickering as he said in a deep voice, "The battle between me and him was agreed upon long ago. It should be you who should not interfere. I said that you should not intervene." Wushuang fiercely looked at Zhao Wuji, his eyes pulsing with crimson flames as a powerful aura swept through the heavens and earth. Strong, this was absolute strength. The crowd was shocked, even when facing the god of war, Zhao Wuji. Wushuang was still incomparably strong. Zhao Wuji's eyes narrowed. The same powerful aura erupted out as he coldly looked straight at Wushuang without the slightest scruple in his eyes. Rumble. Right at this moment, a cold blade broke through the air, causing violent fluctuations in the energy of heaven and earth. The crowd couldn't help but look back. But it was the Kangqian idea that erupted, transforming into a blade, shattering Wushuang's idea attack. Swish! In the next moment, Kangqian's figure appeared in front of the crowd. His eyes coldly looked towards Wushuang. An unrivaled domineering aura swept through the heavens and earth. The crowd couldn't help but be shocked. 50% intent. I didn't expect Kangqian's intent to have reached the 50% realm as well. Number wonder Zhao Wuji said earlier that Kangqian's strength wasn't below his. Up to this point, the crowd no longer had any doubts about Kangqian's strength. 50% intent. Not bad. No wonder you dare to provoke me. Killing you isn't dirtying my hands. Wushuang looked at Kangqian. A trace of surprise swept through his eyes. Then he resumed his previous indifference. Beware of the wind that flashes your tongue. It's not too late to say that when you defeat me,